There we go. I had to actually unmute my mic this time. I have got to add that as a reminder for myself. But we are live. Good, happy after evening. Oh God, I'm starting off badly today. It's not my day. Anyway, happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to the Gray Accords. We have Feirenz.
Feirenz.
Feirenz. Okay, I wanted to say it that way, but I don't want to butcher it too badly. So, Feirenz and Illikaal have joined us joined me. Why am I saying join us? I don't have Rasani tonight. It's sad. But we joined tonight to go ahead and talk about their orgs. I've got some questions, but we'll probably wing a lot of it to make it, not too stuffy. Do either of you want to say hi before we get started?
Hi.
Hi.
Perfect. That was a wonderful, wonderful hello. Thank you for that. Now, just out of respect of Illikaal, because I know you have work tonight, right?
We're good.
We're
I have
good.
about an hour and 40 or so minutes before I have to go.
Okay. If it's cool with you, Faye, I'm going to go ahead and start with him, just so
Totally.
that. Okay, cool. So we're going to start with the Shamans and Duran, but mostly Shamans, so that you can get a little pluggy plug on cool things and all that. Um, so where I wanted to start off with is to just kind of let you have an opportunity to tell us about your guild. A basic membership for someone that doesn't really know anything about the shamans. Treat us like we are complete and utter stupid newbies.
Well, that's good because I tend to uh I tend to give people a full um not lecture, should we say, but like anytime my character is handing out the class or teaching somebody shaman class, like he always impresses upon them how important it is and what it means. And basically um the whole deal of the shamans is that they are the protectors of Dendara. Dendara is the primordial plane of life that, supposedly is the source of all life. If Dendara were to cease to existing or, um, something were to happen to it, all life as we know it would cease. It's I don't know. It's a pretty heavy responsibility,
Yeah.
and not too many guilds have a responsibility that's that heavy. Exactly. So
So no pressure, you guys.
yeah. Which I mean, like I personally say like that's why the shamans are constantly doing drugs
Yeah.
and stuff because
They,
we
you gotta be
we
chill. You
gotta
gotta be able to relax when you've got that much pressure on your shoulders.
exactly. So so yeah, that's
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of our whole deal. Didn't like, um, and the thing about Durin is that everybody in Durin has a responsibility to Dendara and the wilds as an extension of that.
Yeah.
But the shamans in particular are the ones who are like the chosen guardians, if you will.
Yeah, and that's because
They
of
have a
the proddy thing, right?
exactly that
Yeah.
we have a much deeper connection to Dendara, I feel, than anybody else in Durin, uh, or any of the other the Sentinels and monks respectively.
Yeah, no, I agree because you all actually literally have pacts with the different, like some of the bestial entities there, um, that allow you to summon spirits from Dendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um you gotta kind of similar to I guess, and well, I've never played an Indorani or an Oneromancer, so I
What?
don't know the actual details of what happens when you go and take out a contract or make a pact with the Chaos Plane entities. But in the shamans, and this part gets a little bit confusing to people, so I guess it's good that we can clear this up on stream. So there are the Prati, and then there are the Prati on Kiar.
Right.
So the shamans, just the regular shamans, are the Prati. That's us. The Prati on Kiar are the chosen shamans who are bound to Dendara. They cannot leave. And they are I guess like the OG shamans, if you want to call them that.
Yeah.
And six of them house, or there's six of them, and each of them are essentially like voices or conduits for each of the respective guardians. So yeah, the shamans hold the Pradyan Kiar, um, like almost at the same level of reverence they hold the guardians themselves, because I mean they literally carry the guardians. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not. It is slightly similar to how the Indorani and the Oneiromancer. I can't say that word very well. Kind of how their entities work at like mechanically, but as far as the lore, I would say that class and when the Indorani Guild existed, boom, destroyed. Fun times. It definitely it's not as deep of a tie. Like they don't worship them. I mean, maybe astral. They kind of have at least a little bit of a. It's a whole court system. It's kind of like going to the Queen of England, and there's all the people below that and all of that. It's kind of more like that
Okay.
than straight up worship. So it mechanically definitely very similar. You pay a price. It could be either essence or it could be like gold, whatever, and you get that pact. But you guys literally kind of worship them.
Yeah, we definitely. Well, yeah, kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of, not
mean,
exactly.
my character, just about does worship them, almost like they're gods or deities,
Yeah,
in a sense. But I mean, that is a deep part of shaman culture, where we have the guardians of Dendara, and I mean, we basically do treat them like deities almost. Like
yeah,
we treat them with the same reverence and respect we would if like Heron himself were to show up, or um and I mean, I don't know if this. Well, I don't know. I guess Heron would expect this, but like if it came between my character having to choose between Dendara itself and Heron, he would pick Dendara every time. Like the only reason he subscribes to Heron is because Heron is like the god currently residing over Dendara.
yeah.
But should something happen to him or anything like that, sorry man, my loyalty isn't to you exactly.
No,
uh
no. I mean, imagine if he got like we've had corrupted shaman like prod not the Prodiankier, the Guardians actually
Correct.
the actual
Yes.
Guardians. We've had corrupted those before, which we've put down. That was actually that recent thing with Ethne in the Callidian area where she did that big fire thing, was destroying one
Mm-hmm.
that had been sitting there for forever. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the same thing. If Hearn were to somehow get corrupted, yeah, you gotta put Dendara first before him, just hands down.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think that gives kind of a good basic idea, especially with how it works with Duran. I don't think we need to really go into Duran a ton based off of what you said, because Duran is just, protectors
Yeah.
of Dendar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dendara. Well, I guess we didn't fully explain it, but like, for those in case anybody didn't know, uh, in the center of Duran there is this massive, massive oak, like in the Avatar movie. It's just
Big
absolutely
old tree.
huge. Yeah, and
Big old
the
tree.
the reason for that is because it sits directly on top of our portal to Dendara, and so basically, like I mean, the tree itself, they say in the lore, is like connected to Dendara itself. It's like its roots transcend our plane and into Dendara. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's
that
it's a little weird like that.
yeah, it's basically when there was the whole which plague? It was one of the plagues, whatever. That was was it Aelin Bloom, the one down there that destroyed Bloodwood or made Bloodwood what it is.
Maybe yes. I wasn't playing a ton during that time, so
I've been around
that
too
part was
too
lost. That
long.
part was a little bit lost on me.
Yeah, I've been around too long. But yeah, so there was the Bloodwood thing, and it basically Elusis at the time got really damaged from it. And that's where Lelis, or however the fuck you want to say it, sacrificed herself to heal it and Dendara. And when that happened, kind of boom, the tree got connected to Dendara through her dying. So if
I didn't know that.
yeah, so if that's actually like why Hearn mourns her, and part of why he's kind of leaned very heavily into making sure Dendara is safe. It's not even just because solely, it's kind of his job. He became more passionate because he lost her help. He had to basically do double duty.
Right, yeah. It was my understanding that like technically the plane was kind of hers.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, kind of like Emerald Dream and WoW, and you got your Emerald Goddess kind of thing. Similar
exactly.
Idea. Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, she I mean, we teach that in the shaman lore, or it's like required reading to understand the sacrifice of Lys. Although, like the way it's like written in our books, and like the way the NPCs talk about it, they just specifically touch on the fact that she sacrificed her life for Dendara. They really don't talk about how it affected the rest of the world. They just say like basically when Dendara was at risk of falling fully to corruption, she gave her life to rejuvenate it essentially, and that's why we have Dendara today.
Exactly, but yeah, that's what essentially happened. It actually tied Duiran is directly tied now to Dendara because of that. So if Duiran were to fall and something were to happen to Duiran, say too much shadow actually came into Duiran, it would seep right into Dendara and would affect the plane of the living, of life. So that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing at all.
Well, I think that's why we have the Karnog now.
Yeah, it is. That's moving into the favorite things about your organization question. So yes, tell us about the Karnog.
Well, I guess they are one of my favorite things now, even though they are quite new.
True.
I guess
current things going on. We can go that route. Sorry, that's fine.
Okay. Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. So there's actually a lot going on in the Shaman Guild right now that we're trying to, I guess, sort of like just complete. But like we got a lot of projects in the works right now. One of the projects we have right now, and I put up this org rec like a long time ago, back when we were underneath tyranny. But I put it in org rec where basically like I was inspired due to some events in Duiran in which if somebody commits an infraction against the city or whatever, sometimes like we don't have much in the way of punishing people. All we pretty much have are disfavors or kicking them out, more or less. And I feel like there should be other punishments for situations that don't necessarily merit a disfavor or just outright throwing somebody out. And so what I came up with was, assuming all people agreed to it, all parties, the shamans, for example, can instill curses upon people as forms of punishment. And each of these curses would correspond to the different guardians. And my personal favorite one is the one that one of the first ones we were talking about was the curse of Rulvok. Rulvok is known as the bear guardian, and his hide is basically supposed, or is it his hide or his teeth? I know they say his teeth are made of stone or whatever, and they're ground down to stubs. But his whole thing is that he's just all stone, and he's all about endurance. And I was thinking what if his curse caused your teeth to be filed down to stubs, or become loose and wiggly and start falling out,
I know.
Yeah. So and it would be some sort of like how blessings and curses show up in your description, it would show up like that.
Yeah.
Um, but I was saying all that to say I had put in an orgrek so that we could have things like that, um, for other situations, where we didn't necessarily want to kick somebody out of a city, but we wanted to punish them, harshly in terms of like role play stuff. We could have things like that. So that recently got approved. We just got to finish fleshing it out and stuff. So expect to see some of that uh, in the event. Something happens.
Cool.
So that's one of my favorite things going on right now. Another is the Karnog, since we were just talking about them.
Yeah.
The Karnog recently came to Duiran, like maybe a couple of real life months ago.
Something like that, yeah.
And the reason why they came was because of the events of the Soul Mirror with Dar and Ivolm. And basically they became troubled that like Dendara wasn't safe enough. And the Karnog are extremely protective. Like they're basically zealots for Dendara,
Yeah.
as if like the shamans themselves already weren't like really witchy and really crazed about Dendara. It's like they are the zealots of us. So they do not play around about Dendara at all, and so that's why when they came and took over the village of Abelos, like you have to. It's only open to Durin only. They don't even let a Norian mess with them or talk to them at all. It's only they only give Durrani people a chance,
Yeah.
to even get on their good side. So and then when they first came, Alto, the leader of the Karnak, came to my house. Came to my
Nice.
house and we had a nice little chat.
I was gonna say, did you have some mushrooms or something?
I mean, Illy's always got a blunt on him somewhere, but uh, he just invited him in, sat down on the couch, and then just chopped it up. He was, uh, just well, he was a little bit honored because of he had never seen a Tiarna before, obviously,
Well, yeah.
and he was just like, hey, cool, like I get to meet a Tiarna, and you know Illy was basically as soon as he like learned about who they were and what they were about, like he just instantly became a huge fan because I mean, really, like if he is just let's say his ideal for like how to protect Dendara and stuff is like more aligned with theirs than like the traditional shaman, if that makes sense.
It does. And
Like
I was gonna say,
like
were
yeah.
you a little bit of a fangirl? I could see you being a fangirl.
No, definitely. Like Illikaal is like ever since he's known of Dendara's existence and stuff. Um, not necessarily, he doesn't necessarily do it for like to like feel like a hero or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But he definitely does it because it's like he understands the responsibility and like obviously, um, that encompasses like the people he's close to and things like that. So,
Yeah.
he just takes the duty of protecting Dendara with the most seriousness that you can expect anybody to deal with something of that magnitude, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, um,
Okay.
sorry. So the Karnog appeared because of, like I said, Dar and Ivolm, and they were just like, yeah, no, we're gonna put kind of a tighter lock on the entry points to Dendara and how easy it is to access. And some aberrations cropped up in the Hollow, and they've been hinting that uh, something's going on with that because the aberrations didn't start coming up until they made their presence known, and
Yeah.
so they aren't sure if there's like a connection there, or what's going on. But their presence has signified that something is going to be happening in the works with them. So I've been excited about that ever since that was kind of announced to us. Um, And then
Well, I know of one other thing that's been going on, but it's like it kind of
yeah,
leans into Hearn a little bit.
I
So,
was just about to touch on that. I was just about to touch on that next. And
okay.
yeah. So Hairn, and again, it's kind of weird because it's like Hairn is the Dendara dude. So it's like business that happens there also sort of inadvertently bleeds over into the shaman as well.
Yeah.
Uh, so long story short, Hairn got on congregation chat the other day and was basically talking to us. He started like struck up a conversation about Dendara, and he asked us, or I mean, he told us Dendara is asleep, and he was like, "But do any of you know why?" Now, me, in all my years, I had never known that Dendara was quote unquote sleeping. Again, it was my impression that actually well, my actual impression of the state of Dendara was that Dendara is more or less this island sitting in the center of like a sea of shadow at this point because um the spiral is broken, and I think it's because like Dendara and the shadow plane sit right next to each other. Because the spiral is broken, the shadow just constantly seeps into Dendara, and the shadow element just taints and twists anything it comes in contact with. And I don't think that the life element of Dendara. Actually, I mean, I could be completely wrong on this, so take this with a grain of salt. But it feels like the life element that is Dendara uh, is like the most susceptible to the effects of what Shadow does. Um, and like it just feels like there's no real way for it to fight back against the Shadow, and
Mm-hmm.
so it's slowly, constantly just getting corrupted. Now, once again, I thought that when Lise died, she more or less created a barrier around Dendara where it's like the corruption is there, but like it's stopped more or less. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, that was my impression of how of what was going on with Dendara, but apparently that's not true at all. Um, the corruption is there; it has always been there, and it is still infecting Dendara very slowly.
Yeah.
And Heron announced to us that Dendara put itself to sleep, much like, a human being or some such would go to sleep if you have a cold or you're trying to fight off an infection or what have you. Um, so yeah, Dendara put itself to sleep and has been asleep for quite some time,
Hmm.
trying to stave off the effects of the shadow. But he straight up told us, like, it's Dendara is dying, slowly but surely, and he doesn't want to keep it a secret anymore. He said he doesn't want to protect the frail minds of mortals anymore. And he's just basically was saying, like, we can either embrace the struggle or like you can let it crush you. He's like, but like your duty doesn't change one way or the other.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it was a pretty heavy revelation. And then of course I announced it to the shamans like just the other day, a day or two ago, and of course they were not too happy about receiving that news.
Yeah.
Um, so I the shamans will be making the official announcement to Durin because I believe last thing that happened during that conversation, I was talking to Sabati, and I let her, like, I let the whole guild know what happened,
Yeah.
and she said she wanted to talk to Heron because Sabati's in Heron too, obviously, but she wasn't online when that conversation happened on the
Yeah.
congregation. Um, so I let her know what happened, and she said she wanted to talk to Heron first before making a post. So that information will be hitting the Durin airwaves soon, if it hasn't.
Woo! It hasn't yet. No, I know. I know. Sips is kind of. She's on a little bit of vacay right now, so it may be slow
It may
coming,
take a
but
little
she'll.
bit.
Yeah, it may take a little bit, but she'll get to it soon enough. What's worse though is I actually shared this to the speaker, so this is going to be us talking kind of at a high level, some things that don't necessarily get outside of our orgs, but
Right.
Lexahardra just told Rin that parts of Dendara are actually falling into the void. So this is great. Dendara's dead and parts of it are falling into the crack in between the planes.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So that's why I'm just sitting here like, ooh, damn, there's going to be some fun times coming up soon.
Yeah.
They're setting it up.
Yeah, I hope so. Because, I mean, I always thought it was strange that Shadow seems to be like the big encroaching issue for Dendara. But yet, like, it seems like we don't have like any serious. I feel like, we should be taking our beef to Spinesreach. Like in that case, it's like, they're the shadow users and all that kind of stuff. Like, but
well,
I don't know.
This will actually go into some of my other questions I had, which is obviously about like conflict. What are our conflict options? And I actually had some. How would Duiran and Spinesreach possibly ever be allies? Some things around there. So we could, kind of hop into that now, since that's right on this topic.
Okay. Well, I feel that Duiran should never ever align with Spinesreach. And I think that pretty brazenly goes against our ideology. And I don't even want to say his name, but the rune carver guy that sits at the core.
Ritterich. That's how I say it.
I call him Roddy Rich, so I mean,
that's perfect.
So rune carver Roddy Rich, he literally talks about Shadow. Like we have to, we send our shamans to him to like learn about Dendara and stuff, and he specifically mentions Shadow, how it is selfish, when people use Shadow, because every time they do, they destroy the world a little bit at a time. Plus, like what the shadow element does to life and Dendara and so on and so forth. So it's very clear that we are strongly averse to Shadow. And like I said, not to mention the whole fact that Shadow is what's killing Dendara, Severn. With the whole incident with like Severn and Evalamon and Bamathis and all that with Heron and Gaithrin, like it just seems like we should really be having some beef with Spinesreach, and I don't know. Maybe that'll happen in the future, but I can never see Duiran allying with Spinesreach or Bloodlock for obvious reasons, or even more obvious reasons.
It's like I wasn't even going to mention Bloodlock for the obvious reasons. Yeah. Spinesreach is a little bit. I was going to do some comparisons, but I'm probably wait until we get Faye able to kind of talk through his orgs. But Pietre actually asked a good question about do we think that this is happening on a planar level, like what their Spinesreach is doing? And I would say, like org wise, is more of a focus of bringing in extra stuff, brings it into Prime, and from Prime it goes back into through Duiran, goes back into Dendara, so just causes more issues with Shadow. Kind of, and it's already encroaching around, so that's kind of the mindset, is it's extra Shadow coming in and then through Duiran going right into Dendara, so causing the issue to be worse. That's more that's more the issue that most Durrani people have with Spinesreach is that factor. Not that you're bad people or anything. It's just, hey,
they are absolutely bad people.
Oh, you're so mean. Come on.
Terrible people, and you all should be burned by Takaros.
Oh, damn.
Shadow is like, it's like we're utilizing, like radioactive material, and like it's horrible for everything around us, but like it does cool things.
Exactly.
It makes our lights at the inner gate like shine, and that's like, ooh, that's pretty.
It's pretty and shiny. That's why we like it.
Just damn the fact that we just made this guy grow 3 extra arms, extra set of eyes, and he's got 2 tongues now. But
wait,
I was about to say, how productive he's gonna be.
Okay, I thought Illy was making a joke about himself for a second there, and I was like, wait, you've got extra arms and shit now. What are you talking about?
Male, not to say.
I mean,
too much Dendara.
Too much Dendara. Yeah, too much life. That's what he's living. He's living too much life with those arms now. Okay, bad jokes aside.
Oh God.
I do think that's going to be a good segue, actually, to go ahead and let Faye answer some of that about his guild and everything, and then we'll come back
Oh,
to
absolutely.
some other things with Duran and do some more comparisons. So Faye, hi there. You've been having to be pretty quiet, but
Hi.
why don't you tell us about the Syssin and how they kind of work into Spinesreach?
So yeah, so like Sisson, I mean, from like the very beginning of like, Spines Reads essentially have been like hard baked into like the history as like these dudes are, or like, the brick and mortar of this city, as like you can't have Spines Reach without Sisson because they are the defenders, they are the people sort of closest to Severn as, the father patron of the city. Um, so like, I don't know. I literally cannot think of a Spines Reach that doesn't have Sisson and still is like Spines Reach. Um,
Yeah, I would say that I can't imagine it. It's kind of the same thing with each of the cities. They kind of have a core guild that represents, the whole of that organization, that city. And I think in Duran it's Shamans, like in
yeah,
Norian it's Templars. Bloodlock used to be the vampires, but more now I'd say it's probably the Carnifex. And then yeah, in Spines Reaches, it's the Scission. They embody and they're like the protectors of what the bigger protectors at least of what that city represents.
I feel that.
Okay. But did you want to tell anything else about your guild? Like any like lore details, or I know there's very secretive, so you can't tell too much.
That is on the surface what we'd like to talk, proclaim. But I mean, at its core, we are. I guess for people who are still new to Aetolia, they're like the, your generic rogue class. All their abilities are about being sneaky or spying on stuff, and that sort of has become like the um, core identity of the guild. Everyone who's played the game for any extended period of time knows, like, all right, I'm about to have this serious conversation. Where are the Sissin right now? Like, they're probably a room away, listening in, trying to ruin my good time.
Throw that
Um,
icicle. Make sure they're not there.
yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, there's not much we can really do with any of that information, but it's still like, I don't know. It's a fun sort of game of like cat and mouse that at like a core level, like no matter what, um, where like the storyline of the world is sort of going, there's always sort of a place for, well, the system just have to find out like what's going on, like who's saying what to who, and how can we turn that to the advantage of not just the guild but to the city as a whole. And that for the guild has always been sort of one of my like favorite aspects of it, in that, you know, they're proclaimed as sort of like these, the defenders of a city. And normally when you think of that, you think of, the like paladins and like full plate and,
Yeah.
real like sword and board type of people. But that isn't very Spines Reach. Like the defenders of Spines Reach are like stealthy, and they try to think two or three moves ahead of time to subvert like a situation before it occurs, rather than, just be like, oh well, they'll throw themselves against the wall and we'll, go out and slaughter them. That's not. They like to be subtle, sneaky. Gotta
Yeah.
make Papa Sauron proud.
They got,
The
yeah,
Dai and
exactly.
Bossing say.
Exactly. They are the Dali from Bossing Say. They're sneaky little bastards waiting, and they're spy masters, so they have to know, everything that's going around so they can be prepared for every single scenario before it happens. That's why they're such excellent spy masters, is they have to, be little puppeteers. That's exactly what they do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's, Severn is the manipulator, and that is, sort of the core of what Sissin are trying to do. Is the more information you have, the more control you have over a situation, the more you can sort of angle it towards like what you want to accomplish. And If you can't, then you just, lie your way out of it. Because you can always just lie your way out of it.
If you're a bad liar, you may not be able to. I'm just gonna say that like there are certain Syssin, not gonna call it any names, but one of them's in the stream that are not very good liars. They're just not.
It's true.
They have failed at it miserably a few times, and they're absolutely adorable, but they are a terrible liar. Sorry, I love you.
That's also, that's sort of a thing. It's like, if you can lie and you know that people are going to expect you to be a terrible liar, it's like, well, perception is reality. If they think that, this little lie that you're giving out is easily perceivable, maybe there's something deeper there.
Exactly. Like you could practice. You basically could keep pretending to be a bad liar, then become a really good liar and use the bad fake lies to hide the big good lies. Yes, I said that well. Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
My brain is working. Illy, you had something?
I was just going to ask him, what is the Sissin's relationship with Shadow itself? The Shadow plane and the Shadow element.
Yeah, there's been, over the years, when I first started playing the game, the Syssin were purely just the Syssin defenders, and it was all about Spinesreach defending the city, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then when the Albedi threat sort of started happening, and Ulsana entered the game essentially, there was sort of a shift in like the focus of the guild, where it was like, you're still defenders of the city, you're still doing everything you're doing now, but your primary directive now is Ulsana is going to try to basically break into Prime from the shadow plane, and you guys, with the tools that I can give you as sort of the Aetolian god of shadow, you're going to defend that border between Prime and Shadow. So like we even have an ability in Subterfuge, Banish, that I can't remember the last time it ever actually had a use, but it's always there just in case like a Shadowbound appears, that theoretically we can use it and banish the Shadowbound.
Kind of like that their like monks ended up getting
the monks.
Push. Yeah,
exactly. Monks recently. So we had an event, and not to cut into your time or what you were saying, but we had an event a while ago when we got access to this new piece of Dendara. But essentially, as we talked about before, Shadow was constantly bleeding into Dendara, and we basically found this oak that was like growing these acorns, and we could infuse the tree with our own life energy, and that would cause one of the acorns to grow and then like fall off the tree. What we then did was we strung that acorn to our staff like a fetish, and then we had to go into the southern part of Dendara to basically like absorb the shadow into the acorn. And then we had to give that acorn to the monks, and then the monks banished it to the void, which is like the only safe place that it can go.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's cool. That I assume that the Shadowbound are going to the same place.
Well, no, the Shadowbound are being sent back to the Shadow Plane. In this case, the monks are actually pushing it into the void, which is that space in between all of the planes.
I see.
So it's a little bit different, but technically, I don't think I don't think things can go from the void outward. Like we have to like be the conduit to still send it elsewhere.
Look, Shadow is the last thing we should be dumping in there and just leaving it alone open.
That's what I was. Okay. It's like it's got to have some sort of stop systems, as far as I understand. So it's not go. It's go. Yeah, let's just leave that alone.
What?
Let's let Faye go back to talking about how Severin gave him tools and the Shadowbound and that stuff, and ignore the plot hole I just figured out with the void.
Just to say, you guys are just basically creating a second shadow plane full of all the shadow that you're shunting into it.
Well, it's the place of like nothingness, so it never ends. So I don't know exactly if it just like sits there in the nothing, the endless nothing. I don't know.
It just sounds like a landfill to me.
It kind of is like
slowly filling it with
the
shadow.
yeah, it's like the way I
Exactly.
understand it is things from other planes too, just like I was saying with Dendar, are actually falling into that plane. So there's going to be a mix of all sorts of shit. I hope we never have. I both want to go there and don't at the same time because one, we're going to go fucking insane because it's just crazy land, and two, what the fuck is going to be there?
Right.
What could go wrong? Yes, that is the best way to see it. What could go wrong?
Only Keegan. Shadow into chaos. My God.
He'll want to join us, and he'll want to go Oblivion everything. That's just Keegan. That's what you do.
Oh, God.
Anyway, Faye, you were talking about about the being able to push the shadow in there. So you guys are the gatekeepers. Right. Most of the theme of a lot of the guilds in Spinesreach is being kind of the gatekeepers in different senses. But you guys are kind of literally, if Severn were to look at anyone first, I feel like he would look at you guys and say, hey, you guys, go where I tell you, you're going to be the first line of defense, essentially.
Yeah. And that is sort of a big theme throughout all the Spirian sort of guilds is that, we utilize shadow, but we try to do it intelligently, or at least
I don't know.
We put on our safety glasses, we put on our gloves, we're doing everything right that we can to mitigate all the factors. But I mean, you're 100% correct in saying that we are still letting shadow slip into the prime material plane, and maybe that's not good, but like I said, it makes the lights turn on. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Keegan, I agree. The Sciamancers would disagree. I know that they like to say they control the shadow and everything, but yes, they're bringing extra, and it's shiny. But man, I forget who said something recently, but said basically, don't let another singularity happen. Oh, we found, this is a separate conversation. I'm going off topic, but we found out that this is Durrani stuff. The monoliths that were put out were basically a consequence of the imbalance that the Sciamancers and the Ascendral created in our plane, with one, their singularity, and the other guys with their excess, powerful elements. So you guys, you Syssin are fine. It's the Sciamancers that are the problem. They're crazy.
Yeah. And in some ways, the Syssin, on paper should absolutely be watching every Sciamancer sort of out of the corner of their eye, just so you're streaming that shadow right now, huh?
Yeah.
If you, if you start getting all twitchy or shadow boundy, I'm gonna have to kill you. I'm sorry about that, but that's my job.
I could really see them doing that, or even being so anal about it that they are just kind of watching, they've got meters or something. They got thermometers telling you the temperature of shadow in the plane and saying, you're kind of reaching your quota. You kind of need to stop now. Sorry that you wanted to go kill Illikaal, but you're gonna have to find a different way. There's too much shadow. Just back off. Just back off.
Yeah, and I mean, Sciamancer guild leadership are also, very on top of that as well. That last event we had in the gnome town that the name is escaping me.
Lodi?
Is it Lodi?
Is it Lodi, or is it the other one? Gore? No, Gore's cast the. No. Damn it!
It's right on the tip of my brain. It's Gore something, yeah.
Yeah.
Goreshire.
Yeah,
thank you.
The gnomes of Goreshire.
We had that event in Goreshire. There was there was a brief one line mention of somebody in the academy potentially being shadowbound, and Faye and Ardent, we literally spent a day sort of standing in there poking the mob in there, being you mentioned this, and we don't want to be here, but we sort of have to check in and be what's going on with this? What you mentioned it too briefly for comfort, and if something's going on, we sort of need to step in here and excise the tumor before it goes bad.
Yeah. I remember hearing about that. Did it ended up being nothing then?
Yeah. It wound up. I think they did wind up talking to us, and they said that it was something that happened like a long, long time ago. That the situation was like handled, which was good because we didn't want to deal with that. But
Yeah, it's like you
for
can't
both
see her.
Scienceers, for both Scienceers and Syssin, it's like you said the magic word. You said Shadowbound, and now we're here, and we have to investigate.
It's like you can't see me over here. I was air quoting handled to myself. I'm sorry. I couldn't like it's handled. Basically, they probably killed the person. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Which is the right move. They did the good thing.
They did the right thing. Remove the head. That's the way that you solve that problem. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sort of. Not really. Okay. Well, I think that was a decent like background there. Are there any current fun or favorite things you want to talk about going on with either the Syssin, which you probably can't tell us about or won't. I get it. Secret. Or Spinesreach, possibly. I think there was not the pincher thing, the worms or something going on there.
Oh my god, the baby rockworms. Light of my life. So speaking of Spinesreach, you guys were saying Duiran before, right? That's how you pronounce the city name, Duiran?
I say Duran. Some people say Duran.
Yeah,
I've been
I
saying
say
Duran.
Duiran. Like, I think about the fruit, and I pronounce it Duiran. Yeah.
I've been saying Durian like my whole life, and this day has shaken me.
I used to say Durian for years and years when I first started playing. But then that's not how it's even spelled.
Man, if you guys had been here when Bullrock and Rhine and Zahea were here and we started talking about pronunciations, you would have had a blast. We had definitely some interesting conversations. Like Sidev, I say it Sidev, like that. Some people say Skidve.
I say Sidvi.
Yeah, Sidvi, that's another way. There's a couple of different ways, but yeah.
I just call it that place with the Duggars. I just don't even
Duggertown. I like that. Okay, anyway, carry
the Duggars
on.
and the worms. I don't even try.
So speaking of the Duran Spinesreach sort of conflicts, that was sort of a sort of endpoint after the whole Cogger situation that we had. Which oddly enough, when a semi-sentient like robot appears, strangely enough, the City of Progress is not going to be best friends with it. They're actually going to go to war with it, and it's apparently going to single-handedly almost destroy the city. But a consequence of that was that it destroyed our sewer system, essentially.
Yay!
And we got like a little daily quest thing where you had to go down. You had to lead prisoners from the Spirian iron maw down there and sort of slap them every time they stopped working to clear the rubble, which is different than slaves. We're not bloodlock. These were criminals. But that was like the end result was we had to dig out the aqueducts again. One of the ways of doing that, of which was collecting these little baby rockworms, bringing them to the piles of rock, and basically cheering them on with treats while they like ate the tunnels back out. And they were just adorable. I could not get enough of them.
That's amazing.
But now we have our aqueducts back, and everything's cool. And we also have little baby rockworm pets. And they're so cute.
I was about to say, you better have gotten a rockworm mini pet out of that, because that is too adorable.
They have little construction hats, and it's so cute.
Oh my god! I'm moving the Spinesreach. I'm sorry, Illy. You're gonna have to take over his voice. I'm done. I'm gone. I need a rockworm.
Yeah, we got voice Jakaran for that. I'm retired.
Damn it. Anyway.
So that was a recent event that ended. I'd say currently we have one project that we're working on that is sort of a continuation of the soul mirror thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's all still sort of like in the works, but without getting too into details, since a lot of it's still in the air right now, the city's essentially trying to play with clones as a way of surpassing the mirror and not having to deal with that anymore.
Ooh.
which sort of plays into one of my favorite themes for the city of just being like, well, we're gonna make progress, even if that means building a giant vat of flesh that our dead citizens crawl out of when they die.
Oh, you guys and your sick
That sounds
things. Like,
fantastic.
it's
That
like
sounds
you
fantastic.
got the curse thing, and now you're like talking about, oh, just my skin crawling over here. Ah. But it does fit Spinesreach, and it'd be another really cool way to have some sort of conflict between the different cities, because imagine that's not undeath, but it is avoiding the cycle
Oh yeah.
and that whole spiel. So yeah, that would probably piss some people off on the pro cycle life
That would be
of
so dope
things.
if they all like made your own Lazarus pit. Just
Yes. But man, fuck. You just telling me all the things that make me want to be part of Spinesreach instead. I'm gonna have to make an
that
alt
would be
now.
really cool.
Yes. I just want to be Batman coming out Batman out of the Lazarus pit? Yeah, Batman out of the Lazarus pit. That's basically what you would be.
That is the hope.
That you'd be nice and stupid.
Yeah.
I hope it goes through.
Uh,
That would be fantastic.
One thing I thought was interesting because we're talking about like conflict between different cities was uh there was that troll from Anorian that came and like burned all of our damn forests down. And Dura's response was, "Hey, yeah, like let's just talk to this guy and see what his problem is."
I forgot
I
about
was
that event. Yeah, well, no, it, and I don't, I'll, this is actually we can segue into like some of the conflict stuff, unless you had anything else specific, Faye, you wanted to go over with Spinesreach, like any other cool things, because this won't take long, but it's a stupid conflict thing.
The only other major thing recently I could think of was I'm sort of jealous after hearing Illy talk about those shaman curses, because A, that's badass, and B, Spinesreach sort of got something similar to that in that we have a guillotine
Oh
now.
yes, the thing that you guys got for chopping Sid's head off. Yes,
specifically for chopping off Sid's head.
Yes.
And then the full one came and was just like, nah, I'm going to use this to chop off like as many heads as I can while I'm here. So it's not all neat and shiny, but it's we're working on doing we have like a yearly holiday called Cogswatch now, which is the celebration of when the city beat the Cogger essentially. And we're planning on celebrating by either chopping off Sid's head or sort of just gathering around building like some kind of effigy that we could chop off that thing's head.
I was going to say that would be a good solution too. Just make yourself some sort of, make a clone of him and chop his head off.
That'd be great. So just cut his head off forever.
I like this. I like this a lot. I approve of Sid dying a lot. And I'm his friend, but I still want him to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Speaking of traditions that different cities do, this is actually one I didn't have in there. I did want to mention, just for the sake of the people here, so they can be like, oh, thank God, Areachtas is dead. We killed it. We nuked it. We nuked it from the sky. So that's a change in Duiran. Do you guys have any other festivals up there? Or is that, I mean, I know they used to do the winter one where they would do like ice skating. I don't know if they've been doing any of those anymore.
I know I've been like crawling around through like some of the senator projects, and there's something in there about the ice skating pond. I don't think it's functional right now, but I know there's a push to get that going again. And one of the recent things we've started doing, thanks to Lena, is like we have
the
a
night market.
We have the night market, which has been so much fun. Like twice, I think it's like twice a year now, where it's just people can come and sell, and it's kind of just an excuse to RP. But it's been great because it's like no matter how like little or sort of niche-y something you're selling is, you can sort of just get your own little plot and set up there and be like, hey, you want to buy this little tchotchke? I got this for like 5 gold.
I'll give it to you for $1. Sorry.
Exactly. And the first one we had, there was a little kobold who came around and was trading drugs for things.
Nice.
And like everyone got silver grit basically by just bartering with this little kobold. It was great.
Well, Illy, if you didn't hate Spinesreach so much, you could just take your drugs up there and trade for some other drugs, maybe. I don't know.
They don't deserve our drugs.
No, they really don't. They're pretty fantastic.
I mean, Illy only does like drugs that are just grown straight out of the ground. That's it.
Yeah.
If
This one does.
refined, ground up into a white powder, probably not it.
Yeah. Well, let's kind of go into some of. I do want to touch on Illy's thing just real quick, and then we can get into doing some like comparisons and some things about conflict between the orgs and all of that. But it was a recent event. I don't know. Did you see the fires when they were happening, Faye? There was like an actual announcement across the game. They just kept torching the woods.
The pyromaniacs, right?
Yes, the pyromaniacs, exactly.
I remember seeing that, but I was at work and I was basically just like, I don't know what's happening, but there better be a log about this later.
I don't think we logged a damn thing.
I know. Syssin are always logging.
Yeah, I'm so bad about bothering. You can even see I don't even have logging on right now. Don't have it on down here. But we ended up killing all the pyromancers. We narrowed it down to one guy, one troll guy. He's like, everybody's dead. It's just him left. And me and Sid are just sitting there ready to kill him. We're like, why are we not just killing him? We've killed all the rest. Why are we not? And Sabati was like, nah. Maybe we can talk to them and figure out what's going on in case there's not more of them. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. It made sense, Illy. It made sense. To talk it out.
Of course that makes sense.
It made sense,
that made sense.
But knee-jerk response, RP-wise, was for us to just kill them. And we ended up talking to this guy. He ended up being apparently a zealot for Ethne, which was interesting, for the Inferno. Had witnessed the thing she did over in Calidian and was like, why don't we just start burning all of corruption everywhere? And we're like, dude, the forests aren't corrupted. Why are you doing it here? Why aren't you like burning things that are corrupted? Making it smart and just kind of talking some sense into them. And ended up being an NPC that joined the Shamans from the entire thing. Because I was like, I did meta that pit. I was like, guys, the monks recently got some NPCs. I know the sense do the Shamans want something for once? It's like we can't just keep hawking this shit,
Yeah.
Little pet NPCs.
I was not online when that happened because, oh boy, like so yeah, like no, I straight would have questioned him. I would have questioned him, saw if there was any more of him. We
did. And
I'd have let him tell his tale, and then I would have burned him alive on the.
Yeah, you would have
on the spot. On the spot.
So it's a good thing, that we let Sabati drive most of the conversation, so that actual RP happened.
Because it's like so in the Shamans we have, like I said, we have the 6 different guardians, and what we do now is we have this ritual that is basically reserved for basically only like the highest ranking shamans who get in the what is it called, the Covenant of Auspices. You qualify to become kin of a guardian that you basically resonate with the most, and my character is kin of Takaros, and Takaros is the burn them all guardian. Like anybody sneezes on a tree wrong, you burn them to ash.
This explains so much right now.
Yes, and so the fury of Takaros is something. Well, like I said, he's literally kin of Takaros. So I mean that's just why he just takes everything so seriously, and it's like anybody who like slates the wild, it's like you catching the smoke, like that's just it. That's just it.
Just gonna burn you. Just gonna burn you. I mean, not gonna lie, there was definitely probably going to still be a slight chance that that guy was still gonna die from Sitterme, but you know, there was a body there. She protected.
Yeah.
She was the good
And,
person.
and it's
So
like there was
okay.
like what reparations has he done to fix the fact that they just burned down like literally all the forests? None. So
Nope, nope.
Honorian, here we come. No, I'm playing. But no,
Yeah.
basically, what I was trying to say was I feel like that would have been an interesting way to have started like some Durin and Orion conflict, because like that to me was a serious like that was a serious situation that just sort of seemed like everybody's just like, oh yeah, like all they
Oh.
literally just burned down all our lands, but like it's okay.
Oh
He said he's
God.
sorry, and that's basically what it's been. And I've just been over here like
Nah.
really.
Nah, man. Let me tell you a story about this. So I ended up and I paid for it in game so badly, having to backpedal my shit. But I, right afterwards, I'm so bad about sending messages and not like reading my tone at all. So I sent one to Srian and Rooks right after the event. And I'm like, dude, guys, these people were from Anorian were apparently like really pissed off at how you guys are handling your city and think you're not doing enough and that you're just kind of sitting on your hands. So check your people. Basically, is what I said. What I
Okay.
said in game, and I about started a war
You should have.
between Honorian and
You don't.
Duran.
I'd have been right behind you. I'd have been right behind you.
I know, but I realized because we already were. This is too much info probably for Faye, but we already had pissed them off enough recently from not helping them out with Mogdadu. Because we were just like, nah, we're not helping the slaves. It's not affecting Dendara. It's not our issue. So we're
Yeah.
not going to. So they were already pissed off enough at us. So there was literally almost a war that I don't think I told any of the other speakers about in game or anything, because I was like, nah, I backpedaled that shit. It's good. We're good. Don't have to tell shit about it. But there was absolutely a solid several heartbeats that it could have happened, and I halfway wish it would have, but at the same time I'm like, we're tiny right now. We wouldn't survive. I mean, we've got Value, Sid, me, sort of me, and a few others that can fight, but man, I feel like Anoring would definitely stomp on us.
Yeah, that's I often feel that way with like, Spinesreach and Bloodlock, where they're all about
Exactly.
like gathering their slaves, working their land. We're just like, we don't really want any part of that. And we hope you don't take offense to us being like, nah, we're just gonna work on our weird clones.
and our clones apparently. Oh, so yeah, let's talk about conflict. This is perfect. This is a nice segue here. So my thoughts originally were kind of to think of how are Duran and Spinesreach alike in comparison to Bloodluck and Honorian. Now, obviously, we've already debated that they probably couldn't be allies, and for obvious reasons. We had the Cogger thing, there's the whole Shadow thing, all the good stuff. But realistically, when we're talking about the two orgs, we're both the tinier ones, and we don't really like the other org we're kind of having to be aligned to that much. We don't really think they align to our goals. So what else kind of puts Duran and Spinesreach, kind of on the same fence in a sense?
In a sense, yeah. I also think that, shadow stuff aside, the assisting the Cogger stuff aside, I also think that in terms of like ideals, Spinesreach is always about progress and discovering new things and doing whatever it takes to get there. Whereas I feel like, and I could be wrong entirely because I've never had a character in Duran or know any of the inner workings of that, but like they seem very, they have their traditions, they have their history and everything, and like that is what has worked. That is what is like rooted in Dendara and the forest itself. And I think that is very diametrically opposed, and that like one is very rooted in like tradition, and the other one is very like, nah, we gotta move forward into the future.
I think that's a valid point. I do think that new Duran, like in more recent times, has definitely tried to seem a little bit more progressive. As not necessarily in the sense of hey technology, because I don't think that Duran would really ever heavily embrace it because of the wilds and nature and all of that. But they're always looking for some sort of progress. Like they're looking for, healing of the world and healing of Dendar and, just trying to see everything, just kind of be in a better place rather than, aberrations coming and trying to knock on our faces. So
Yeah.
it does have some tradition stuff, but, some of the traditions go away because we are trying to look at things in a new light. But what do you think, Illy?
Um. Yeah. I mean, I I honestly wonder like what the long term health of Dendar is going to be. Because I mean, Heron has almost repeatedly said like he can't fix it. He can't fix what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's gonna die eventually. So like I wonder, what that timeline's gonna look like, what that's ultimately gonna mean, what our purpose would be in a post Dendara world if there is one. But otherwise, I mean, um, like I said, I feel like as far as Durin is concerned, they'll always just naturally have conflict between uh Spinesreach for the reasons that we discussed, and Bloodlock for more than obvious reasons. But I, people have like floated the idea of like breaking up the tethers and stuff so that it's more of a um, sort of individual organization sort of thing.
Yeah.
So things are like more broken up, which I think will be interesting. Um, but yeah, like I I would be interested to see like what, if anything, would be like the real. I mean, outside of this stuff that happened, because I mean, I'm genuinely surprised that that just did not start a war between Honorian and Durin, like a full-fledged war.
Yeah.
Uh, but I would be interested to see if anything in the future, anything that might happen that like would really be, the actual trigger that sets Durin and Honorian off, between each other, and uh, but as far as like Spines Reach and Bloodlock, they've always had like a tenuous relationship. Like in my lifetime, I've seen them go to war with each other a couple of times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But never in my lifetime have I ever seen an Orient and Durin go to war over anything.
Oh, buddy boy, have I. I have repeatedly. I've seen it between Elusis and I've seen it between Duran, and it's never pretty. It doesn't happen nearly as often, but it's definitely happened. I feel like it's been since Kyotin's time, maybe since the last time we had anything super serious happen between the different orgs.
Really,
Yeah.
I had no idea one. I had no idea one had happened even recently as that.
Yeah, it's definitely there was something. I can't think of what it was right now. And I know during the what was it? The Mitrine War, there was definitely some serious tensions there because Honorian leaned more into the spirit and Duran was kind of more sketchy about it. So there is
Hmm.
some tension, but they ended up kind of putting it together just like they usually do because they're like, we don't want to deal with having to fight, one of us against the other and then also fight against the other two cities. So that ends up being honestly why Nori and Duran, and same thing with Spinesreach and Bloodlock, end up not splitting up as much. It's just because of the fact that the bad thing is Duran and Spinesreach, and this is what I was going to try to get to, are smaller. So they struggle to be able to kind of sit on their own. Now, if Duran and Spinesreach fought against each other, we probably would be okay fighting each other as long as the other two orgs didn't get involved, but they kind of naturally end up anyway.
Usually, yeah.
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 And in those situations, it often feels, I don't know, the lines of like player reasoning becomes kind of blurred, and it's like, well, I know you're just doing this because it's like shadow, or it's tether sort of tribalism, and I do think that like even sort of size like that would be super interesting.
Yeah, I think if we
Yeah,
could have a war between Spinesreach and Duran, like an actual one just between us, it would actually not be that bad. We have fairly even numbers to each other.
yeah, for sure.
But I don't think that, and this is just talking conflict in general. I don't think tethers, like getting rid of tethers, would fix that because we still just have lower numbers. And let's see, Wyatt said,
Wyatt.
yeah,
that's what to say.
Spinesreach is not smaller. Well, it's more in the combatant
That's what to
numbers.
say. We have
You have
numbers,
plenty of people, but no one really fights.
There are like 4 or 5 of us.
Yeah, it's like you guys are, and this is nothing wrong with it. It's like you guys are mostly our peers, which is fantastic. I like orgs that have a lot of our peers. That's why I don't end up with characters that linger in Bloodlock very long because they don't have many. But it does make for detriment when you want to actually have any sort of combat related conflict because you just don't have the numbers. And then Duran has kind of the same situation, but also we're just kind of small in general. We do have some decent numbers occasionally. Like, did we? Yeah, we have a decent number right now. We have, reasonable, but most of these people would not fight.
And I feel like if war was happening, like more people would show up and around.
True, that is true. We probably would have some come out of the woodwork. Yeah.
And no, the number of people online right now, I feel like
that's not bad.
Yeah, the top half would fight. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the top half would definitely fight. And I feel like with Spinesreach, the good thing, Faye, is that if Fezzik and Taz, and probably even Trickall, if they actually heard that there was a war going on, because we saw it not that long ago, they showed back up, they would come back and come fight. I bet you anything.
Fezzik might, I don't know. But
he showed back up not that long ago.
Trick is out. Like Trick is.
I could have sworn I saw him log back in. Yeah. I could have
sworn. He does from time to time, like just for like certain. I talk to Trick like often, like he's. Yeah, I just talked to him yesterday.
Yeah, okay, again, Trick. I know he's free of the cancer. I won't put that evil on him. I am sorry.
Yeah, don't you put that evil on him, Ricky Bobby.
I am not Ricky Bobby. Just don't even. Okay. Anyway, well, I think that kind of goes through the conflict pieces as best as we can, unless we really want to say why, each city hates Bloodlock or Honorian, but I think that's pretty obvious. I don't think we really have to go into that. But I would like to kind of touch on 2 more things real quick. One, and this we could take turns on who wants to go through it, but what kind of players fit well in your org? Like, what do you think tends to be like the dynamic mindset and player style that ends up kind of falling into your org? Or what could you use more of in your org? And if you say role players and Spinesreach, I think you're covered.
Yeah. Let's say that we got a surplus, which is a great thing. But if you want, I can talk about it first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, since you're talking, go ahead first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I guess for Spinesreach, it's Bloodlock is very the mighty get to dictate what's true and conflict, blah blah blah. But like Spinesreach has always sort of been this like you're free to pursue whatever you sort of wish to pursue, as long as it's not a detriment to the city. Whether that's like we have lots of like artsy people who sell their things at like the night market, or there's a lot of people at like the archivists. I know that they have just insane sessions of just like locking themselves in a library and emoting about doing just horrible experiments, but in a fun way. So I mean, Spinesreach is very much, I don't want to call it like the nerdy like knowledge city, but like
It
Between
kind
like
of
the
is.
archivist and the Sciomancers, yeah, that's kind of what it is.
Yeah, it kind of is. I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just that's kind of what it's turned into is the nerd city, which is perfectly
Which is
fine.
great
Yeah.
because I'm representing you.
All right. Well, what do you think, Illy, on shamans or Duran?
Uh, and the shamans, I definitely think having a desire to roleplay is important. Because there's a lot of the shaman lore goes pretty deep.
Yeah.
Um, so I think there's just a lot of really cool roleplay opportunities. But at the same time, it's like you have to be interested um, in like checking it out. And I try to facilitate, um, helping people get into things, showing them, uh, uh, basically showing them like what the responsibility means to me, and like what's expect. Like I always, anytime I'm teaching anybody anything about Dendara, like I really make it a point to try to convey how important it is to my character. So, because it is a responsibility. So, um, I just, uh, like I said, if you're interested in that sort of thing, um, and we have drugs, so there's that.
Hey,
uh, but yeah,
Yes,
I think role
drugs.
just role players too, and I mean we could always use more PKers. Um, but yeah, and Durin in general too. I think. Um, I, I don't know. I kind of wish. I feel like Heron and Ome kind of started pushing us, in the direction of like being more aggressive toward our enemies rather than more passive. Um,
Yeah.
with the whole Bamathis War and all that stuff.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so, I like I said, I kind of like that, and I liked that direction we were going, and then that was also kind of why the whole troll dude burning down everything, and then you know he was just like Teehee sorry, and we're just like okay. I was just kind of like wait what happened to what like Heron like I feel like Heron wouldn't have wanted this like so but I don't know. Like I said, we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Uh,
Yeah. I will say, when it comes to Duran and some of the orgs, be prepared to just kind of have a little bit of a strong will and a strong personality. I don't know if there's a better way to say it, just because of some of the personalities in there. Like there's some people that definitely just stand out, and it's not a bad thing. I'm definitely probably one of those people, unfortunately, where you're probably going to end up in arguments at, and that's actually kind of a very Durrani thing, is to just have arguments and then go drink or do drugs afterwards. Fight it out, whatever.
yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
Pretty
that
much.
sounds like common ground for Duran and Spinesreach at least. 'Cause
I feel like
people argue, but afterwards they go to the lounge, they get they drink, and then everything's okay.
yeah, exactly. I feel like there are so many dynamic pieces between Duran and Spinesreach that they are very much more similar, but because of the fact that they have to be so polarly against each other, that we could never make it work. The relationship, I'm sorry. I want it to. I want us to be able to be allies. I do. It'd be fantastic. We can go destroy Bloodlock and Honorian together and then, figure out how to, you know, deal with each other and kill each other off afterwards. We just destroy them first. Together. That's my plan.
Hooray!
Hooray. It'd be
Support,
fantastic. It's the
support
best plan ever. But I do just want to say that I think that's going to be, has always been kind of why it sometimes can be difficult to get in there, is just, if people feel intimidated sometimes with stronger personalities, and you just need to give us a little bit of time. We'll tone it
Yeah,
down in some cases. You know.
yeah. I know that some people definitely can come off as intimidating.
Yeah.
But I promise, and like I feel like once upon a time, people felt that um they couldn't like uh really fit in or progress if like certain people uh were like I guess basically what I'm trying to say is like certain people like feel intimidated to interact with like more established people sometimes, but
Yeah.
like most of us are like really helpful, and like we'll always we'll always try to be as helpful as we can be, helping you get along and stuff. Like I love uh introducing people to the concept of Dendara and the Guardians and things like that. I'm always willing to teach people, um, about the shamans and stuff. So, and everybody in the guild is, usually friendly and helpful as well, despite how some people may perceive them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like everybody's been really cool.
Yeah. I agree. It's like even though we have had that kind of attitude kind of around for a while now, it's really just a facade. If you get to know people, it's actually not that bad. And I think that's probably a point to make with Spinesreach too, is that you all are such great role players. People need to be, willing to put themselves out there a little bit and give it a try so they can make sure they, give it a full shot rather than just kind of feeling intimidated by role play. Because they may look at Syssin and be like, hey, it's a PK class. They may not feel comfortable initially with the role play aspect, but if they take their time with it, you guys are actually really good about embracing and encouraging people up there.
Yes, and that is a big reason that Faye and Pietra and Ink sort of made a nice little hookah lounge that people can go in, and it's just there's always someone in there you can emote at or talk at or just exist in the same space as.
That is Sid's bar in Duran, basically. That is the place. It should be the Ivory Bow, the big place upstairs that actually has like the willpower regen and stuff. You would think it would be that, but no, it's Sid's bar. That's where all the gods come and destroy his tables and his bar and everything else, and they paint on the walls. That's just what it is in Duran. We need to use that more, but it used to be the hot spot. Okay, well, anything else you guys want to touch on there? Because I only have one more question, and it feeds into a lot of what we were just saying.
Nothing I can think of.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay. Well, my last question that I really wanted to make sure to ask is just, what are there any takeaways that you want to leave with the people that are listening in about your orgs? Like, is there anything you really want, besides obviously all that encouragement we just did, is there anything else you would like them to just remember about your different groups? And we can go with Faye again first, since he's the newbie here. We'll do that.
I'm trying to think. I guess one thing I would say for Spinesreach especially is that just looking at like the help files for like Spinesreach as a city, it sort of paints a very different picture than like how the city itself tends to run, which does cause some conflict sometimes when people are like, well, why are we having these moralistic sort of like imperatives to like believe this or not do this, and a lot of that sort of boils down to like very very old role play.
Mm-hmm.
That like has pushed the city in a very specific way, and it's very hard to backpedal against that, but it still is a good place to be in as a city. So I mean, yeah, if you're looking for a place that is just you're sort of free to do your own thing and have a place where no one's really gonna step on your toes and say like, oh, we don't do that here, that's very much Spinesreach. And I mean, for the Syssin, a lot of people think like, oh well, you you gotta be all about the stealth or spying, blah blah blah. And there is a place in the guild for people who just want to be the equivalent of a player character, city guardsman. Just I'm here to defend the city, and that's my job.
Okay. Well, you mean like a gate sitter, basically, that just kind of hangs out there and doesn't do anything but stand there.
And hopefully, interact with the other citizens.
He's just a statue. That's all. I'm thinking of Fezzik. Sorry, that's what he used to do all day. Is sit there and just occasionally smoke the cigar, go PK, and then stand at the gate. So, very very old call out there to my pal there. Okay. Well, Illy, what would you say on your side?
Just that one thing I wanted to preface it with, which I meant to say when you were asking me about the guilds and stuff. The shaman leadership consists of the watcher, the listener, and the speaker, which always has to be 3 separate individuals because we together form what's known as the hand of the prodi. And it's cool because we have Sabati designed these crowns for us, these white, green, and black veiled crowns, sort of like the Sisters of Fate. But I was saying that to say any member, if you want a guild where any member of your leadership, particularly the hand, will get you high and take you on a trip into some super crazy forest land, join our guild. We'll take you on a trip while we take you on a trip.
Yeah, try our entire council. That's pretty much most of the people at this point. But the shamans are definitely experts in it. Anything about Duiran?
Yeah, I mean, if you're a tree hugger, I mean, hey, if you love the forest, come on over.
Come on, really? That's what you're gonna go with? Is with a tree hugger?
I mean, Duran is Feirenz said, we're similar to Spinesreach in that regard, where we are a pretty free people. Everybody's pretty chill for the most part. Although, we kind of tend to have a little less rules because I don't know if this is the unpopular opinion, but this is just me. It's I just like the idea of Duran being more of more of a savage, sort of tribalistic, sort of organization.
Yeah.
As opposed to more of an organized, hierarchical, basically, a more civilized people that live in the forest. Not to say, we'd go, non-structural or anything like that, but just more of a savage and slightly less civilized people.
No,
when it comes to, the way we handle our enemies and things like that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that it's kind of like Spinesreach, where you can do a lot more than you might get away with in, say, in Norian, because
Norian for sure.
Yes, you don't have as many laws. It's basically don't fuck people with Shadow, don't play too much with Shadow. And did we mention Shadow's bad? And that's the essentials of it. And you just get killed you can get killed in the council if you're Shadow. It's fun times. You're risking your life, but hey, you can come visit and take a look around.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, cool. Well, that is my round of the interviews. Those were definitely all the pieces that I wanted to go through. Are there any actual questions from the crowd besides Keegan wanting to make sure to point out his poll about Oblivion, because he wants us to make sure that we talk about it, and the fact that You shouldn't be voting no on it. You should want to die, and it should feel like Holocaust all over again.
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about it earlier. I feel like my answer would be yes. I do. I love seeing it from time to time.
Yeah.
It's not something I want to see happening every. And I know, like with the way the mechanics work, it should not realistically. It should never happen just because of how long it takes and everything you can do to shut it down. But I
Yeah.
just hate the idea of it like being a thing every single fight. Like I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just
It's the same thing with Holocaust. Like, I get why we needed to test it out at the foci when it was tested out. I feel that. It's new. We have to try the new shiny things. But it's just like the same thing of Holocaust. You don't do it unless it's a last resort and your teams is really dying very quickly. And you're like, well, they're going to die anyway. Let me just go ahead and kill
oh
some
yeah
of them
no
at the same time.
oh yeah no that oh no that doesn't matter. I'm killing everybody.
Yeah.
All that matters is me. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, let
Everybody else
me.
be down.
Yeah, it's like I that was my opinion with using Holocaust too. It's just like I flew up, I drop a shit ton, and then I GTF. I was terrible with Holocaust. With this one, you have to stay nearby, so you can't run away. Let's see what we've got in the chat here. So, yeah, this link's gonna be censored. Sorry, man. So it was fun to hear about more in depth about Duran because, like, context enriches the narrative of this big old story we're all writing together. That's right. And it's so exciting to hear other facets of the gem. I love it. I love it. Let's see. I think you missed the heyday of me and Valangar blowing everyone up. No, I didn't miss that. I definitely was there. Unless you're saying that to Illy, because Illy might have.
Oh, I was not playing Aetolia. I was on my long quit
Yeah.
period during that time.
Yeah, no, I definitely experienced it. Valangar and Eliadon and Zaven and Maz, everyone just dropping those bombs and murdering everyone, and it was glorious,
Yeah,
glorious bloodshed.
I just remember the days of travel. I know a ton of people have done it since, but
Yeah,
just the last I had saw it happening almost all the time was Tralendar and Mazian with Old Syomancer and Singularities and
yep,
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 and just your whole
exactly.
screen just lighting up
Just
every time, every
exactly.
team fight.
You get like four of them, and you can see them starting to light up. You're like, oh, I'm dead. I know it's coming. Accept it. Turn first aid off, and just put my herbs away so that I don't lose them when I die.
They were the reason I bought the artifact shield with cold resistance on it. So,
Maz's cheese
but anyway,
is definitely very heavily used to be leaning towards it, so you had to have that on it. Anyway, I get what you mean.
yeah.
Well, I guess unless there's nothing else in the chat besides people saying thanks. Besides obviously Keegan wanting to plug his poll. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or say? Because otherwise, that's it tonight.
Yeah, no. I just wanted to say thank you for having me once again, but it is time for me to go. So
Absolutely.
I'll be heading out.
Okay.
Yeah, and thank you for having me for the first time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun.
Thank you guys so much both for coming on. I super duper appreciate it. And thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be having our normal Sunday show at 1 p.m. It's probably going to be PvP related. I don't know what else is going on with that yet, but I will make sure to let you guys know on the forums. Otherwise, hope to see you all there. Have a wonderful week. And thanks again for tuning in. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.